Catch Texans in Color every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Good morning, ladies. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Great rising, everyone.
Yeah. So it's the last 48, well, more than 48 hours has been, wow, topsy-turvy. And what news is just moving real fast nowadays, as fast as we can sit down here and think is moving. And I was talking to several people, some candidates locally around here, and I asked them, how will that affect you with the change that's going on now, swap with president stuff? They said the answer I wanted to hear. They said, we're going to stay on course and do what we're doing. We're going to keep on doing what we're doing. Yes. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that, because we do not want to change because another change happened up high. We still got to worry about our local level.
So, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Drapper, and I am running for State Senate District 12 in the North Texas area. And I am so happy to be on your show, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you. And I can't go and do without my friend up there, Sabrina. Thank you for joining us, because, man, y'all had me pull out history dictionaries and study the state of Texas and how things change and how they redistrict stuff. I was amazed of every 10 years and how they managed to do things their way. And we sit back and, is this legal? It's amazing. But y'all had me pulling out books. I was pulling out maps. I was looking up everything. And I am astonished on how things change. I'm not from Texas. I'm from Illinois. And seeing the changes down here so rapidly, like, okay, we're going to do this. And I was talking to Christine Washington last. And I said, it's funny how they took your district and moved it more west to the rural area.
Yes.
But Ron, with the census, we know that's every 10 years. And right. People have a misunderstanding of what the census is because you have some entities that is misusing the information. One, the census is done every 10 years, and that is to identify the population of your area. And then in addition to that, depending on your demographics from the census, dictate what type of funding those areas receive. So if you don't have representation to be able to account for the funding, you don't get the money. So that's why you see the lines being changed every 10 years that are more favorable to one side or the other. And a lot of times you will see that 9 times out of 10, communities of color is always disproportionated because they are trying to receive funding and resources that's supposed to be allocated for people of color. So that's why it's really important when the census do come for you to fill out those questionnaires so resources could go back to your communities.
Yeah, because I remember when they came knocking on my door. And that's funny. I was even, somebody got a hold of me and wanted me to be a supervisor for my region with that. I said, well, how does that work? I've never done it before. How does that work? So I said, no, I'm going to pass this time. I got to do some research on that and find out. Well, they asked me again.
That is a missed opportunity.
I was doing other things, and I was already working full time at the time. And I had a lot on my plate at that time. But I'm not going to turn it down again, though, because Sabrina, you enlightened me on a lot of things I did not know on our first interview. And matter of fact, I'm going to go back to that first interview with you. I had more people on saying they didn't know half the stuff that we were talking about that was going on. Nobody knew about curbside voting. You could call in, it will bring the machine out to you. They did not know that. Things like that they didn't know that we're educating people on, which is a good thing. But I won't turn it down again, Sabrina, because I'll see you and back me and say, do it.
do it. There's so much going on in politics, especially in Texas. And, you always hear things going on in Harris County, which is Houston, that's one of the battleground counties in the state of Texas. But then, you know, you have the DFW area where Stephanie is representing, to where we're needing to have these conversations more because we're missing out on opportunities because we are unaware and uninformed. And Stephanie,
Correct.
I know you're in the DFW area representing District 12. Tell us exactly where you are and what you are representing.
Okay. So, of course, we all know how my map is lined up. I have a small portion of Dallas County, a small portion of Tarrant County, a small portion of Denton County, and I have all of Wise County. So I have majority of the rural areas. So of
Wow.
course they made sure that how this map is drawn, that we don't have the inner city.
Mm. And that's important because we know Dallas is a predominantly Democratic county. And by
Yes,
you having just bits and pieces, that means you're not really reaching your constituents.
exactly.
So it's mind-boggling how they get in there and they split a county up and split things up, and we know what they're doing. But it's one way of combating that is educate our voters and get out there and vote. So we get some representation down there in the Capitol, so things can be done the right way.
And you know,
Exactly.
oh, I'm sorry, Stephanie, go ahead.
No, I was going to go ahead and just say that that is exactly right, because we definitely need the people to be, first of all, educated and know exactly how they're supposed to go vote. Because here's the thing, they'll wait and move election polls away, and people don't know exactly where their precincts are. So it is very important that they know exactly where their precincts are located at before they go to the election, especially early voting, which they're trying to get rid of. They got to know, and we got to make sure they're informed.
Yes, and also people don't understand how these lines are drawn, and then also how the polling locations are allocated or removed, or so on and so forth. So you have your House rep that decides on the redistricting, right? And that's an elected position. But then your county commissioner then decides where to have polling locations per the Secretary of State. So, and that too is another elected office. So you got a person at the county level and then the beginning of the state level in a regional basis. So you got to understand who these individuals are that are controlling these maps, controlling the resources, and basically controlling the money.
You know, I'm gonna echo what M. Green Scott said. Um, she was saying the same thing, that we need to get out and educate the people. She said that when she went to Republican side and started talking, they thought, "What are you doing over here?" But once she educated them and let them know how the government runs, they didn't even know that. They just voted by name recognition. That was it. So that's what we got. We got to educate everybody. Okay, this is what this person do for your county. This is what this person do for your priest. This is what, on and on and on. And once she went on and she broke it down to me, I mean, she broke it down in layman terms that you don't know what they do for you. Well, this is what they do for you. Just not doing this for you. And so she broke it down that way, which made a lot of sense because I knew certain things about how things were ran, but the way she broke it, I said, "You kidding me?" All
Yeah.
this stuff going on that we put somebody in office and we assume they're going to do the right thing.
Yeah. Stephanie, tell us why you decided to run for office and kind of give us some backgrounds on your district. What are some things that you're seeing or what you're learning during your campaign trail?
Okay. Well, I can tell you, it started 2 years ago. Now, I started off not wanting to run for office, but 2 years ago, I went to our last Democratic convention in DFW. And there was a young gentleman there that had got on stage, and he said, "If not now, when?" And that resonated with me. And as I walked through the convention, there was this young lady that was dressed up in a handmade outfit. And that's right before they took women's rights away. We were fighting for that. And here it is now, 2024, and I have a 22-year-old daughter, and I look at her and I look at my teachers that I'm surrounded around, and they don't have living wages, but they're teaching our students and they're leaving their profession. And when they decided they wanted to strip away our rights, that voice came to me again. If not now, when? So the GOP made me do this. I had to step up and give the people an option. I am for fully funding our public schools. I am for making sure that we have living wages because, it's hard for our youth to move out and they can't even afford the basic living expense. So this is why I'm running. I'm running for the people because the people need a better person that's going to represent them correctly and make sure that they vote for their needs and not for their own pockets. So in my district, I'm already calling it my district. In my district, especially in our rural areas, they're having issues where they do not have broadband out there. So if they need to go and have teledoctor come out to their areas, they don't have it. The internet is not very good out there. And they're concerned about the hospitals closing down there. So there's a big issue out there. And they're also concerned about their teachers losing their jobs and this thing called the voucher scam that their schools are going to close. They do not have the resources to send their kids to these private schools. So it's very important that they have somebody that's going to stand up and represent for them and to vote against that. And then when you come over into the metro area, we have issues with a little bit of everything. We have the homeless issue that's going on. We have people that's sleeping up on the bridges, and we do not have enough resources out here to make sure that someone gets the help that they need. We also have a huge issue with, of course, wages. Most people come to these basic areas and they want to have a better wage, and they starting them out at $13 an hour. Okay, so you start them out at $13 an hour, and if they want to rent an apartment, they have to make 3 times more. They're not going to be able to afford housing. So those are the issues that we have, and I also want to make sure that we have in place prison reform. We need to have that in place as well. So those are the issues that we have in our area in District 12, and it has been ignored. Somebody is not listening to the people, and I'm that person that will listen to the concerns of our constituents.
Wow. You touched on a lot of things, and me and Ron kind of discussed because I was explaining to him where I reside in reference to rural Texas. I'm in East Texas, and broadband was a really big thing, especially during the pandemic, to where our children wasn't even able to log on into school to get their lessons because of the poor internet that's here. And where I reside is considered the city in East Texas, but it's still rural. And we have areas to where we don't have hospitals, to where a person have to travel over an hour for medical care. And it was just so crazy to me. And no one is speaking about that. The amount of hospital closures in the state of Texas is ridiculous. And to know that you're experiencing the same thing in basically what we would consider, us rural folks, a metropolitan area, it's crazy to me. And no one is speaking about these issues. And it's affecting our children.
It is. It is. Our children's future matters. And that's what I've been protesting about for the longest. It's not about me. And it's not about me making money. It's about them having somebody to speak for them that understands exactly what's going on. Because you remember when this country was shut down, who was out there still working? It was the essential workers that was out there that carried this country on their backs. In the show of grace to them, they decided to close a lot of these hospitals down. The hospitals were overworked. The nurses, they were very overworked,
Mhm.
and it was a lot of mental issues that was going on with them. So somebody has to be able to say something about that too, because they need resources, they need help. And God forbid if we have another crisis like that, what are we going to do? Have we planned ahead? That's the question.
Yeah, and that is a good question. We were hit hard here in our county here with that. And unfortunately, well, fortunately, the job I had was an essential job, so I kept on working. But seeing that the country shut down and the state shut down, everybody was walking around like, what we going to do next? There was no plan. And we have to have a plan for that coming up. Which lead to my next question. I got to ask you a question about this. Have your district always had a Republican in office?
Yes. Do you know that I am the second Black female that's run for state senate since Barbara Jordan?
Wow.
Wow.
Man,
Wow.
that's history
So that
is
tells you,
yeah, history is taking place right now.
isn't it though?
Boy. So with you running Democrat, only being ran by Republican, what challenge do you see in your way on how you could overcome all that? What challenges are out there for you?
The challenges that I have been having on this campaign is getting the volunteers and donation, because we have to get the word out, and we have to have the people to help get the word out. So that was one of the biggest challenges. And to go against the Republicans, they have to understand about this Project 2025. A lot of them just think, oh, it's okay. A lot of things that's been put out there in public that's lies. They think, oh, the Democrats just want this. They just want to have our taxes increase, and that's not the truth. It's the other way around. So it's about getting the message out. That's what is the challenge, is getting that message out to them so they will be open. They got to be open to hear it. And right now it's so much clutter that's going out there that they're not hearing it.
Mm.
Do you think that people are, I know I am, are they sick and tired of hearing the same stuff all every day, week in and week out? Should they take a break from the news or whatever? Because I was talking to my wife the other day. She's not all she's watching is the local news. She said she can't stomach all the stuff that's going out there. And I told her you have to hear what's going on in order for you know to make sure you make the right decision when you vote. So you're saying all this stuff is out there. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes it's nauseating hearing they blatantly lie and blatantly
Yes.
blow that dog whistle. Back in the days, they was undercover doing it. Now they right in the open doing it, and they're saying things. It's a, what is wrong? Why we can't? I don't even know how to put this. How can we filter out all that stuff so people can hear what's going on? I know education is part of it. What can you do to filter that garbage out?
I'm glad you asked that question. I work at a W-2. I have a W-2 job, okay? And I love that because it helps provides my health insurance. And I had a gentleman come in my office, and he just loves to come. He's a Republican, and he loves to come in my office to challenge me. And I feel like I'm like, okay, you get me ready for whoever's coming after me. So give me what you got. And he says, well, your boy is gone. Your boy is gone. And I'm like, yes, he stepped down and he opened up the door for us to have Kamala Harris to run for president. That's a good thing. As far as getting educated on, I have to always school him on what the real problem is, and break it down to him a little bit more. Because you know what, even though he's a part of the Republican side, he was very uneducated about 2025. He had no idea. I'm like, so you're gonna vote for someone that's supporting Project 2025, that's going to tell your employer that if you work over 40 hours, guess what? You're not going to get paid for that. That's free labor. So you're going to work for free? And he thought about it. He was like, Wait a minute. I said, oh yeah. And the ones that's making over 7,000 plus in a 700 club, guess what? They only gonna pay 1% taxes. Guess where the rest of that tax gonna come from? Middle class folks, people like you. If you don't own it, you gonna pay for it. So it's about getting the word out and kind of schooling them on it, because we're at this point right now. We have to school everyone, and not only on the GO side, we have to school them on our side too, because we
Yes.
have people that's in our camp that don't even understand what's really going on. We have to be on top of stuff. And you mentioned about shutting things down. I'm gonna tell you, sometimes I have to take a mental break myself, and I did something to my television to where it only shows certain things, and I don't even see the news on there. And I have to kind of stay off of social media to give my mind a break, because I have start having dreams of these bad things that's happening. I want to cut that out. So I have to turn my phone off and kind of like meditate a little bit to get myself back, focus on what the real problem is. And that's what I think that we all have to do. Take a break away from social media and from the news, and let's regroup and let's stay focused, because a lot of the stuff that is happening right now is they want you to not be focused on what they're doing. That is why it is called distraction. Every little thing that's coming out right now is a distraction to keep us away from knowing about what's going on with Project 2025, the sunset. It's a lot of things that they want us not to be focused on. So we need to take a step back, take a deep breath, come back to it, game on.
Mm. We could take that distraction and make it a reaction, and turn around and do a movement on it, like we when Obama first ran. We
Yes.
need to come together like that, and I'm starting to see that now. I think what happened on Sunday, I think woke up a lot of Democrats and a lot of independents. They woke up quite a few people, and that's what we need now. The key is with that right now, that momentum, it needs to keep on going. It can't stop
Yes.
tomorrow. It's got to keep on going, and it's got to keep on going on the local level where you at, because people don't somewhat seem to understand on what the local level brings. I think me and Sabrina talked about this on the first show. School board is so important for your community, and Texas have an election every year, but the turnout is
Yes.
horrible. I'm gonna say the turnout is horrible. I talked to Glenda Henry in Guadalupe County, and we're right next door to each other. And it's the same thing when off-year elections there, the turnout. So you get people on the school board that may win by 50 votes.
Yes.
And here we go again. Education is the key to everything. Let everybody know what's going on, because we have to break it down to the people exactly what the school board does. People think the school board is like a PTA. I hate to say that, but that's what they think it's like.
And Ron, the school board really runs the city. Yeah, if you will look at the revenue and the assets the school board acquires, you will be amazed. And it dictates also where some of the funding goes. And people don't realize we have an election every year, because these are people that are literally doing the work, or they don't have name recognition. So they only really vote every 4 years, if that.
Yeah.
So if you're not keeping abreast of what's going on at the local level because you're consumed at the national, you will miss opportunities in your own cities and counties. You touched on a good point, Ron.
And then we call it Monday night quarterbacking. Is when it's over, then you come up and say, "Hey, where this? We've been telling you for 3 months," and you wake up afterwards and say, "What happened?" Well, you stuck with it now, buddy. No ifs ands but about it, because I'm here, and it's kind of, we had a when we had the primary, we had the runoff. Um, I'm a election judge. Where my precinct is at, it splits right down the middle. I mean, I think it's 22 is on one side. So we had people coming in for the runoff, thought they could vote for that. Said, nope, you on the other side of the street. So that's one thing about being educated. They didn't know where to vote at. You know, they didn't know
Exactly.
if he was running or she was running. They didn't know. So I asked one guy, I said, so you knew it was a runoff, but you don't know who it is, but you came to come vote, right? He said, yeah. I said, you didn't get the sample ballot? And that's nothing I'm touching base on is a sample ballot. You go to bearcounty.gov and get a sample ballot of what's going on. Because remember, the primary ballot for us, it was 4 pages. Who's going to sit down and read that while they voting?
Well,
You know,
you got to understand, people are not as educated as we think they are, or informed as they think they are. So you would think, since we're in a technology age, oh, they'll automatically either Google or go to the county website to get this information. People are oblivious to this. And I wanted to go back to something that Stephanie was saying in reference to kind of disconnecting from social media and listening to the news and things of that nature. But unfortunately, that's where a lot of people is getting their information from social media. So Stephanie, how could we help you, one, get volunteers to come help you spread your message to inform voters on what's going to be on the ballot, what's going on in your district, and what the issues that's really at stake? Because a lot of people get distracted, as you mentioned, on Democrat or Republican, right? And not
right.
focusing on the policies and procedures and the issues that's literally on the ballot, and not even the people. So how could we help you get the message out to inform individuals of what's going on this upcoming election?
They can go onto my website, draperfortexas.com, where they can volunteer and they can also donate. They can contact, I will email, someone on my team will email them to make sure that they get the information on what's going on. And we also will be having a calendar out that will be telling them exactly where we're going to be at when we're going out to go block walk. We need to be able to have a postcard party where we are sending our postcards for October the 1st to get to them. We want to make sure that we flood them with all kind of messages so they understand. I feel like I have a PhD in nagging, so I'm going to be nagging State Senate District 12 to let them know, hey, wake up, y'all. We got a problem and we need to address this problem. So I'm going to continue on hammering y'all and make sure that you overly know stuff, because by the time it comes November 5th, they're going to be like, hey, we done heard from Draper. Draper done told us what we need to do. She done told us to go read the 990 pages of Project 2025. She done told us who was running. And, we're educated. We are informed. And that's what we got to do. I know we've been preaching about getting registered to vote, and that's so important. Did you know we got people that's already registered to vote that we can actually flip Texas if we get everybody out to go vote? We got qualified registered voters right now, and they got to get out. And we got to get that message across throughout Texas, not only just my district. They need to know that their votes actually do matter. We just watched it on Sunday. Your vote matters. We had 14 million people that voted for President Biden and Harris, right? And what President Biden did was the right thing to do. Guess what happened? This young lady got $84 million in her war chest, and she can fight. So guess what? I'm not worried about the top because she can handle it. She's going to be our next president. Now we got to work on our local election and make sure that everybody know who they need to vote for, and make sure that we get these crooked people out of offices and put the people that actually care about them. That's what we have to do. And that's what I'm going to be doing. Getting the word out and nagging.
So Stephanie, you said it's Draper 4. Is that FOR or just the number 4 Texas?
FOR.
Okay, so draperfortexas.com?
Draperfortexas.com.
Okay. I'm a post that every time I'm on doing my show. I'll have it in my comment section. We'll have that going on. I gotta ask you a question. Can I get that same PhD in nagging?
No,
No, she said
you have
no.
to earn it.
Oh boy.
You got to earn it.
I like that. That should be a tag on your website. That was
I'm gonna have to make sure we put that on
oh, you're
there.
gonna have to put that
Yes.
on there because that would catch people's eyes. That what you just
Okay.
said, PhD and nagging, that'd be I mean, I can't use it because you already did it, so I'm not going to use it. Mine is when I get off the show, I always say peace and chicken grease, and everybody say, where you get that from? So they know when I sign off there. If they hear that, they know I'm going. I'm done for today. So that's
So
my
Stephanie,
tagline.
are you able to also donate at Draper for Texas? Also,
Yes, ma'am. You are able to donate. You are able to volunteer. You're able to even leave comments for me. If there's an issue that's going on in the community that you need me to be aware of, let me know. Communicate to me.
okay.
I'm glad you brought that up about letting people know, because I talked to several people and they said, "Well, I want this done." I said, "Do you let them know?" No. I said, "Well, how can they do anything if you don't say anything?" And that's some of the problem
Exactly.
about communication right here. People know what they want, but they scared to bring it up. And I always tell them, no question is a dumb question. If you don't know the answer, ask the question.
Exactly. You know what? One thing about me, and I hope people get to understand that, I have 25 years of retail management experience, right? And I grew up as a Baptist preacher's daughter. So it's already installed in me to listen to the people. I'm one of those people. This is my first time ever running for office, but I'm one of those people that likes to listen to what the people have to say. And then once I hear what their grievance are, I go out and I go represent them. And I've been doing that not knowingly for a very long time. So if you have a candidate that's open to hear what you got to say, we have to go and make sure that we are active in what they're asking us to go do. If this, then they want to hear whether it's good or bad. People want the truth. They're tired of hearing the lies. They're tired of this song and dance. And we got to do better by the people.
Yeah.
And I'm their
Absolutely.
person.
Yeah. I got, uh, this just came to my mind because I was speaking to several people about this. They were sort of upset with Obama when he was in office, being a black man being in office. How come he didn't come to the black people rescue? I said, you got to understand how the process go. Right, he's in office, so you want him to hurry up and go and take care of all the things that we've been going through in 4 years, then 8 years. It takes time to get things done, and that's some of the blowback that I'm getting from our people saying if we get somebody black in office, how they gonna help us? You know what I mean? They figure that you could flip a switch and everything is done, but it doesn't work like that.
Exactly. You know, on that big stage there, because I had people up there was questioning President Obama as well. And what they fail to realize is there was a time when we didn't have control over the Senate nor the House. They hog tied his hands. He could only do so much for the people, and that's where it's so important that our folks understand how it all works. He can't do everything on the federal level. They can't control everything. They can ask, it's the House, it's the Senate that does stuff. The Senate is the final say on what goes on in our country. That's the same thing in our states. It's the House that makes the bill, and once that bill goes to the Senate, it's up to the Senate to decide whether they're going to push that bill or not, and then it goes up to the governor. That's how it works, and people need to understand the way how the system works. I believe that Obama did want to help, but it's only so much that you can do,
Yeah.
you know. But I believe in him. But I also believe that we have Miss Harris there. She's gonna go ahead and open up the sea. She's gonna be the new female version of Moses, and that sea is gonna be split, and she's gonna make sure that she's gonna work on both sides of the fence. She's gonna bring us together. I believe in her.
Mm.
You know, Ron, you said something in reference to the misconception people had or have when Black candidates get elected to office. True, I'm hoping that they're looking to bridge the gap between the communities that we reside in, but they also got to understand they got to represent everyone, right? But you are hoping that they are bringing these issues to the table and to the forefront so people do not get left behind. But we also, too, as voters, we got to come to the table, too, because they can only do so much in their capacity. So they got to have support from us. So not only our responsibility, what our Black job is to be registered voters. Our Black job is to get out to vote, but in also with that, being a educated voter and educating others. That's going to be the key, because you got to understand what you're voting for, not just who you're voting for.
Right.
Right.
You said, Steph, you said something about how a bill is done, and I'm going to show my age right now. There was a thing called Schoolhouse Rock back in the days when they said how you get a bill done. Do we got to start showing that to some of these people in office? This is how his bill is done, and don't put everything on top of it. On top of it, I, I don't get it. Well, a bill comes to office in order for it to be passed. Well, I want this. Okay, I want this. I want this. That's sort of watered down what the real bill is. It waters down because everybody want their piece of the action. So it won't pass until I want $1 million for my project here. I want $2 million for this project right here. I don't get it. So where's the bill at? Schoolhouse Rock was showing how a bill is done.
Mm-hmm.
So
You know what? I'm with you on that, and I think they do need to go into the vault and go pull that cartoon out and dust it off and put it back on there. That's a campaign right there by itself.
yeah. Oh, look at you! You a PhD with NAGA and now Schoolhouse Rock. You got a lot of things going on right now. But basically, we need to get back to the basics. I know the internet is out there, which with your supporters out there in the rural area without internet, so they're getting whatever comes on TV. They don't have a chance to do research and find out what's going on. So that's part of educating them. If they can't go to your website and can't go to anywhere else, just relying on that TV. I'm not saying they're getting misinformation, but they're getting information out there that somebody else putting out there that's the truth. And we know sometimes it's not the truth. And so that's all they get. So if they can't get the internet to get online to look at things and educate yourself. So speaking about that, so what is the push out there to get internet in the rural area? What needs to happen in order to get that?
We need to get in contact with Verizon, those major carriers out there. They can do it. It's the money. They can do anything they want to. It's all about the money. If you can run water out there in those rural areas, you can run cables out there. If you have electricity running in a rural area, you know what you can have running out there also? You can have fiber optics right there in the rural areas, but it's all about the money. It's all about making sure that we have our local leaders voting to have them to come through, because they cannot do anything unless our local governments okay it. That's the problem. And as far as you said about rural areas getting the message out there, my camp is going out to Wise County. We're meeting with them. Matter of fact, I'm going out there August the 6th to meet with the Wise County precinct chairs out there. So I have to go physically go and let them know, hey, I'm here. I'm for you. What is your concerns? Because I know they have more needs than just that, but they want to let people know that they matter too, because a lot of times people forget about the rural areas. And what they fail to realize also with the rural areas, they have farmers out there. Those farmers need help. They need help because you got these other big companies that got these farming companies, and you got our small town farmers out there. They need the help. So yes, they need to have internet so they can stay on top of everything. There is always new information coming out every single day. So I feel like, it's my opinion, that we need to get these people like Verizon, AT&T to get out there and help champion this. They need to sponsor getting this out there to the people. They need it.
Stephanie, let me ask you a question. Going back to the vouchers. I know in my district, we had our House representative who voted against the vouchers, who was a former superintendent in my county, and Governor Abbott had an all-out assault on him. Can you explain a little more about the voucher program and the significance of how it affects your district and your constituents in your counties?
Okay. With that, okay, I can break it down to you like this. We pay property taxes, correct? So our property taxes go straight to our public schools. Well, Greg, you mentioned Greg Abbott. We actually have a surplus that's in Austin. He refuses to sprinkle out the money to help those schools, those districts that are not performing at the level that they need to because they might not have the funding to get the teachers that they need. So with this school voucher, it takes away from our public school that are already struggling and the ones that are not, and they go and send it out to these private schools. So the private schools have an option whether or not they want to go take Bobby or not. Bobby might have a behavior issue. Bobby can't go there. Bobby might have an issue with ADHD or might have some type of learning disability, right? Those schools, those private schools, have a choice. They don't have to take them. They don't have to take them. And with private schools, whether they understand it or not, those private schools, there are other fees on top of that. So if you have more than one child that has to go to a private school, are you going to be able to afford those additional fees? Because you got to pay for everything in a private school, where at a public school, you do not, but you have a choice. If they're in after school programs, you have a choice whether you want to pay that or not. You have options. And we in public schools, we also have school options, school choices for them. But this voucher is going to take away our choices. It's going to leave a lot of students behind. What's going to happen once those schools start closing down? I have not have the answer to that, and I think it's going to be bad. I think we're going to have a lot of children that's going to be dropping out of schools. I think we're going to be in trouble. And those people that live in the rural areas do not have private schools, or they're going to have little satellite schools maybe that's not going to be able to take all of those kids in. So guess what that means? That means that the kids are going to be left out and they're not going to get the education that they need. And especially with us having this book ban as well, on top of that, mixed with that, the kids are not going to get the education that they need. So it's so important for us to fight for our districts to make sure that we cancel out this school voucher, and we need to enhance our public schools. Greg Abbott needs to release the funds to these schools. He needs to make sure that all of these districts that are struggling, that he issue out the money. The money is there. They just got to get it.
So, what you saying that the money is there to give to the schools? Hope I'm leading in the right direction. That he wants to use that money for school vouchers and not for the public school?
Yes. He's going to take the money from the public schools and give it to the private schools. But here's the thing. With that, you know that there are already people that's already in private schools, right? So what's going to happen if my neighbor is filthy rich, his kids are already going to a private school. So that means that they can have that money that is given to them from our governor, given to them. They don't have to spend that money. They were already spending. So that's like a tax break to them. So they're going to have that money to pay for the schools. while our public students may or may not be able to go to that private school. It's not a guarantee that they'll be able to go to those schools, and it's not a guarantee that they'll be able to afford the other fees that's behind it.
So let me ask you something. That money right there, they're going to use for let's say use for vouchers. Is that money they give them? Is it taxable?
I don't believe it is.
Wow.
He wants to give the public school funding that is taxed by us on our property, on everything that we pay taxes on, right? He wants to give that money over to the private schools, which he's already received money from these two billionaires. He's already received money to push this. So it's not for the regular people. It's not for us. It's for the rich people.
And public schools like here in San Antonio, we had I think 6 or 7 schools that shut down here. And
Oh wow.
I'm starting to see that not only in San Antonio but in other cities. And these schools are left empty. I mean, this year coming up, the schools are not open anymore. They move the kids to other schools.
Yeah, and you know what? I hear in Keller, they're having the same problem. They literally, before the school ended for the summer, they had to cut back. So that means not only are teachers being affected, it's the staff as well. So they have to scale back, keep cutting so that they can even function. So what's going to happen? The classrooms are going to be flooded. You remember a few years back, maybe about 10 years ago, when there had problems where it was too many kids in the classroom per teacher? Yeah. That's what's getting ready to wind up happening. These poor teachers are going to have a boatload of kids in their classroom, and the teachers are not getting paid to take care of all of them. They're going to do it, but it's going to be hard for them because they're already buying school supplies for them. So it is so important that we shut this down. Now, he's claiming that he has the votes to push this. We need to flip. I'm going to say we need to flip 4 seats. I'm going to claim it. We're going to flip 4 seats and we can shut it down. But we need people to get out to go vote.
Amen to that, man. Now, that was something I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And I fear a lot of people in Texas don't know about. That's the whole deal, breaking it down, let them know exactly what's going on and what's happening. All we hear about this behind the scenes, they're gathering things together, almost force feed us. This is what you get no matter what.
Yeah. You know, it's about painting that picture. They paint a pretty picture, right? But you don't see that in the corner of that picture is a signature to make you see if that picture is legit or not. We got to do our homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
And you mentioned something earlier about broadband, and excuse me, an historic $3.3 billion federal investment in broadband to connect millions of Texans to the internet, which we know a lot of us have been disconnected, especially since the pandemic. But distributing the money appropriately and efficiently is really a challenge, especially for a relatively new state office. The Texas Broadband Development Office, you know, they're still trying to build up a staff that will oversee the work. And we've seen that the Biden administration has announced that the state allocation for the programs, with Texas receiving the largest portion of these funds. Are you seeing that in your county, through your county judge? Because, you know, we thank you for understanding what is needed in your community and, you know, making this a priority in your campaign. And then since a lot of our counties are countywide, which will be using the internet to submit the information to the Secretary of State, how is that important for you to articulate to your constituents for this upcoming election?
With that being said, they need to make sure that they bring the noise to the county commissioner and demand. People are going to have to be like me. They're going to have to get their doctorate degree in nagging those local election folks. They got to go talk to the county commissioner in order to bring those broadbands over there. They can do it, but if you're going to be quiet about it, they're not going to do it. They're going to sit on that money and they're going to play like, oh, we didn't get the money. They have the money. Now, as far as them doing it in Wise County, that is something that I would have to go and research and see where we're sitting at. Now, 6 months ago, there was someone that was working on trying to bring broadband to that, and I have to follow up and make sure that that's still happening where we're at.
I know there was some entities and some individuals that was trying to get this information pushed out because the program was ending. I want to say it was I don't know if it was June 30th or May 30th. Mm-hmm. And these are things that people are not aware of in reference to resources that is supposed to be afforded to them from the federal government, sent to the state parties, through our governors, through our county judges, distributed throughout the counties, through our commissioners, as you mentioned. So I know it's really important to get this information out to individuals for them to know, because this is why it is so important that we get you elected to keep informing your constituents of what's going on in your county.
Yes. It's like this in layman's term, people got to be nosy. You got to go to these meetings that they're having. When they're having the city council meeting, you got to go, because that's where a lot of things start happening at. It's on the very local level that you think that's not important. You got to start going to these city council meetings and hear what the mayors are saying, because the mayors have a lot to do with things too. So you have to. And the mayors will fight for their cities. But if you're not telling your mayor, hey, this is what we have a problem, because they live there too. Most of them do. They live in those cities, and they know. You got to get on to them and make them do their jobs, because a lot of these folks are getting this paycheck, or getting a salary, and they sitting on their hands. Well, there ain't nobody saying anything. I'm not going to do anything about it. We have to advocate for ourselves, because as they have been saying throughout all these campaigns, nobody's coming to rescue you. You got to rescue yourself. And I know about these Texans folks out here that they will get up and rise when it matters. And right now it matters. And we got to get out there and get into these meetings. And we have to have people that's sitting at the table that can advocate for us.
You know, Stephanie, you done said a mouthful. And that is why we need to get you elected. Ron, this is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm just looking up right here. 31% of Texas rural areas do not have internet.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm looking it up right now. And they got options right here to go to, like satellite, fiber optic, like you brought up, Stephanie. And here it is again. T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. They're looking at going out there to the areas, but it's not in their how do you put it? They plan things to bring out to the rural area. It's not in their planning stage. So what that's telling me is nobody's asking for it to come out there. They probably are, but they don't know how to do it.
Well, also too, Ron, those rural areas don't even have the equipment or the sustainability or infrastructure to implement the fiber optic. So now you're dealing with equipment. So, you know, so then that's more money that is involved. And then if you look at it closely, the areas that are affected in these rural areas are people of color.
Yeah. He looked that up too.
Isn't that something?
So they're not in a hurry, basically.
They're not in a hurry because they don't have a nagger on their team to go make sure this gets done. They need to go and address the issue. They need to get on their last nerve. And I'm that person.
You know, when you said that on how you make things happen or things that you want, I remember the first job interview I went on. My mom told me to pack a lunch. And I said, pack a lunch? I sat there. Lunchtime came around. Manager's still busy. I sat there, ate my lunch right there. He came back in 2 o'clock. He looked at me, kept on walking. 4 o'clock, he came by and said, "You must really want to work." "Yes, I do, sir. Come on in the office." And I was hired because I sat there and waited. And that was one thing I was told to do. If you want a job, you got to be hungry and go out and get it. If you want internet, you got to be hungry and go out there and get it. If you want Stephanie to represent you, you got to be hungry and go out there and vote.
That's right.
So I don't know where I came across, because not being impatient, you got to be patient on some things. And patient is hard to do because people get frustrated by patience. And with the election coming up, the patience got to be there. Because I'll put it this way, a lot of people are impatient. They want this over. They want they want November 6th tomorrow. They want it done and over with. Because we got to go through all these days again, all the way up. And that's what we got to do. We got to preach patience. That song I play all the time by Sam Cooke, "A Change Is Gonna Come." That is my theme song I play every day. And that is my thing. A change is going to come. And it's coming. And I feel it. It's coming. But you got to be patient. So many more days.
You have to be patient, and we have to strategize how to get in office. And we have to have a plan in place, because if you do not have a plan in place, you're going to be in trouble. And that's something that I'm one of those people. I like to plan everything. My family goes crazy. They're like, "Oh my God, there she go planning." But I believe in planning. Some people say, "Oh, don't plan, don't have a plan B in place." I believe in making sure that I plan things and have a fail-proof plan, a plan B. Just in case plan A does not work, we can go do this. Whether I win, if I lose this election, y'all are not going to get rid of me. You're not going to put me in a corner. I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to continue on giving them a hard time and tell them what they're going to do. So you might as well go ahead and vote for me, because I'm not going to shut up until we get this stuff taken care of. We got to make a change, and I am that person that will help make a change. I'm going to get it done.
I see you are. All right. Boy, this hour went by quick. A lot of information. That's what I'm talking about. In closing, anything you want to tell everybody about, Stephanie?
Yes, please, please, please go to Drapper4Texas.com. Please volunteer. We need boots on the ground. We're going to be running and making sure that we hit every single door. I need donations. We need donations to make sure that we can pay for our block walkers, that we can get these messages out to them. So please, and always keep me in your prayers, because it's not easy running a campaign and being in the face of it, but we need to make sure that we get the word out and get out to go vote.
Amen to that. Sabrina, you want to have anything to say? Close out?
Well, Stephanie, I just want to thank you for your time and that beautiful smile. It's always a pleasure to see and speak with you. This has been very informative, especially understanding that even in the Dallas area, there's rural areas, right? And we have similar issues. So it's not too far-fetched to say, since I have issues here in Bowie County, that's not going on in Dallas County, Wise County. So thank you so much for sharing your insight and stepping up to the plate to be a representative and be a voice for the people of the DFW.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, ladies. I appreciate y'all taking the time out, cutting on. Hey, this was well educated. I mean, I got people typing in right now saying, "I didn't know that was going on." That's happening like that. So we're touching people, just doing what we're doing right here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ron. We appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ron.